Hello friends, hope you're doing good. I know you do not like the intro, so let's get straight into the build. First thing you need is a P90 from flea market. It costs you around 75 to 85,000 rubles, so let's call it 80 down the middle, so 80,000 rubles. And the first thing you're going to change is to the FN90 upper receiver, which allows us to add a sight to it. For the sake of the video, I've gone with the PK120 holographic sight. It comes from Prepper level 3 for 21,000 rubles, but as you can see on the flea market, it is roughly around 15,000 rubles. Next thing is the FN90 receiver rail, which allows us to add a tactical device, and this is once again personal preference for the video, or actually my go-to in general is the Balder Pro tactical flashlight with the laser. Generally SMGs, you want to have some sort of laser on it. If you can combine it with a flashlight, even better. So we're gonna go with that. It comes from Skier level 2 for 9,400 rubles, and that literally just completes our build. Now if you do have mechanic level 4, you can change the butt pad here. As you can see, it shaves off a little bit of recoil. It's nothing huge and it's relatively cheap from the trader, 4,600 rubles. I wouldn't pay the flea market price for it though, just not worth it. And another thing that you can consider is the suppressor. As you can see, it takes off quite a bit of recoil. Unfortunately, it shaves off a bit of ergo as well. Obviously ergo you want as high as possible. For this build, I've gone without the suppressor. But I personally, if I'm going to go out there, I always put a suppressor on my gun if I can. Prefer my guns always to be suppressed. All the parts right now cost 28,000 or 29,000 rubles extra. So roughly 110,000 rubles right now. My go-to ammo is SS190, comes from Peacekeeper level 4. This is the best ammo you can get. If you don't have Peacekeeper level 4, you can go with L191 as well. It is slightly less pen, but if you mag dump a guy, they're going to fall over nonetheless. Now, if you've been around a lot, you know that I absolutely love the P90. I used to run this as my main gun for money runs in areas such as Resort, for example, where you're going to be in a lot of CQB situations, and it worked perfectly every single time. Unfortunately, this wipe, they added back the SS190 to Peacekeeper, which means I can finally start using the P90 again. I will be modifying the build a tiny bit there. I'm going to add the butt pad myself. I'm going to add the suppressor, and I'm probably going to switch out the scope. And surprisingly, Valde PS320 worked on it pretty well as well, which is the variable 1x to 6x scope. Something you might want to give a try. Obviously, the Valde PS320 is pretty expensive, but I hope you guys like this build. Let's move on to the next one. Did you know that 75% of you are not... I'm joking. I know you don't give a shit. Let's move on. And if you've been around the channel a lot, you already know I love the ADAR, so we're going to go with the ADAR. It costs you 25 to 35-ish thousand rubles. And the first thing we're going to change is to the overmolded rubber grip, as you can see right here. This costs you 31 USD from Peacekeeper level 3. Now, if you don't have Peacekeeper level 3, you can also use the Colt A2. It's $11 from Peacekeeper level 2, I believe. I definitely wouldn't recommend buying this off a flea market because it can go up crazy prices, so make sure if you don't have the trader, you switch it with either the Colt A2 or something else. For the video, we're going to go with the overmolded rubber grip. Next thing is the stock that we're going to have to change. We're going to go to the DS150. This is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, budget stocks. And for a single fire weapon, obviously, we do not need anything too crazy on it. So we're going to go with the DS150 from Peacekeeper level 2 for just 67 US dollars. I'm going to skip the sight for now. We'll get back to it, I promise. And we're going to go straight to the handguard. And as you can see, you only have two options with this barrel length. We're going to go with the Mo SL. It only costs you 12,700 rubles from our good friend Skier level 2. And we're going to hop straight to the foregrip, of course. We're going to add the AFG M-Lock tactical foregrip. I'm going to go with the stealth gray. You can go with whatever color you want. I'm pretty sure they're all same trader levels. They're definitely around the same price range, but the stealth gray is around 9,100 rubles from Skier level 3. And the next thing I recommend you change is the gas block. Switch to the MK12. It lowers your recoil a tiny bit as well, but it also removes the iron sight, so when you attach a scope to it, it doesn't get in the way. Some of you may not care. I personally do not like it, and the gas block only costs you 48 US dollars, so not that big of a deal, and a little bit of recoil reduction as well. Now, when it comes to the muzzle device, you really have two options. So if you want to go like budget, like you want to save money, you can go with the HK Blitz flash hider. It is right here, as you can see, 10,000 rubles roughly from mechanic level 3, and you save a ton of money, but obviously you lose a little bit on the recoil and you're going to be loud. I personally prefer suppressed weapons, as we've already established. And that being said, we're going to go with the SF3P flash hider from mechanic level 2 for just 7,000 rubles. And that allows us to attach the monster sound suppressor. So you can go with either the mini or the regular one, I guess. Obviously, the regular one is slightly better recoil, but as you can see, they're pretty similar in price. 25,000 for the bigger one, and the mini is... Actually, the mini is more expensive, apparently. Yesterday, when I was doing these builds, they were same price. So let's go with the bigger one. Cost you roughly 25 to 30,000 rubles on the flea market. So pretty good deal if you ask me. Now I promise to get back to the scope, and this one is a bit of a stretch when it comes to the budget, but at the same time it'll make sense, I promise. So we're gonna add the Lobaev Arms 30mm scope mount, and we're gonna go with the TAC 30 here. Now if you hop onto the flea market, you can see that the TAC 30 is like 90,000 rubles. So obviously it is not a budget option, but in case you did not know, you can also barter for it. As you can see, Jaeger level 2 gives you a barter for 1 TAC 30 per reset for 3 kvasses. Now kvass is a drink that you can buy off a flea market for roughly 25,000 rubles is the average price. What you can do is after the raid or bring one into the raid, drink it to 1 out of 60, because barters and crafts and such, they don't require the full 100% durability. So you can hand in them at 1 out of 60, which means you get yourself hydrated, and then you have these left over and you can barter for a scope as well. For the sake of the video, I'm gonna buy the 3 of these. So we are gonna go right click, required search, exclude bartering offers, sites, and we're gonna buy ourselves a TAC 30. But obviously I would use up these kvasses before. Obviously if you want to spend the money, you can, or if you want to use a completely different site, that's also a possibility. It costs you 114,000 rubles roughly, the suppressed version. The loud one is 87,000 rubles, but obviously that is without the TAC 30 already, so it's kind of a gray zone. Would you call it a budget? I don't know, but still it's a trick that you can use to save a little bit of money, get yourself hydrated, and so on. So let's build this whole thing. As you can see right here, 75k, assemble, and here we go. Here's the build. And like I said before, you already know ADAR is one of my go-tos early wipe-ish. Once I get level 3 Peacekeeper, once I get Flea Market, ADAR is one of the builds that I really do like. Now obviously they've changed up the ammo for this wipe. You're gonna have to use the M855 from Peacekeeper level 3 until you unlock Peacekeeper level 4, which means then you can buy the 856A1, which is my go-to round, but M855 actually works decent. A lot of people don't know it got buffed this wipe as well, so it's not like the complete garbage round that it used to be. And it's one of the best weapons, in my opinion, or one of the best builds for quests such as like Wet Shop, for example. I always use this build or very close to it for Wet Shop Part 1, which requires us to eliminate 10 scavs with a suppressed M4 ADAR or TX15. But obviously, it works very well against players as well, as you can see here in this clip as well. If you run into an unsuspected gamer, one taps work every single time, my friends. That being said, I would probably try and keep this build as something I use from a distance. So if I plan on going dorms or going into resort, I might switch it up. But you never know. Give it a go. Let me know what you think, and let's move on to the last build. And our final build is AUG A1. It comes from the flea market. Goes between 45 to 55,000 rubles. As you can see here, right now it's 55. The one I bought just now, literally 2 minutes ago, is 45,000 rubles. So keep that in mind. Make sure it does have the 20-inch barrel already on it, because otherwise you're gonna have to spend extra to get that. Let's get to the preset, and the first thing we're gonna change is the receiver, which means we're gonna get rid of this ugly scope or sight or whatever you want to call it on top, and that costs you $32 from Peacekeeper level 3. We're gonna add the low sight mount, which also is $32 from Peacekeeper level 3 as well. Just gonna skip the sight for now. We're gonna add back our 20-inch barrel. As you can see, we already have that, so that's no extra cost. Same with the foregrip as well. Unfortunately, foregrip on this only gives you ergo. It doesn't actually give you any recoil, which is kind of odd in my opinion. But that being said, doesn't really matter. We're gonna add the Ultra S sound suppressor, which is roughly 40,000 rubles on the flea market. Obviously, flea market prices like to fluctuate quite a bit, so right now it's 36k. We're gonna say it's 40k roughly for just for the sake of the video. This is personal preference. Your sight always is personal preference. My go-to for the AUG is the Schmidt & Bender PM2 8x24x scope, but obviously this is very expensive. It's nowhere near budget. It literally costs the same amount as the rest of the build. So you can also use the TAC 30 trick from the last build as well. So keep in mind, that's personal preference. I'm gonna throw that off for now, and this is literally the whole build. As you can see, recoil is pretty decent, and you'll see from the gameplay as well that it's not too shabby. Cost you 44,000 to build. With the gun, which was 50,000, it's between 85 to 100,000 rubles. It really depends on all the prices. But yeah, this is the build. Obviously, you do not have to use a long-range scope on this. You can use the same PK120 for 20 grand if you want. You can use whatever you have available. So keep that in mind. You don't have to spend crazy amount of money on a sight or a scope. And that pretty much concludes our build, my friends. I hope you enjoy all of them, or some of them at least, your build. And as you can see, AUG-1 holds up perfectly well against PMCs. When it comes to the ammunition, it is literally the same story as the ADAR, so keep that in mind. If you don't have 856A1, use the 855 from Peacekeeper level 3. I hope you enjoyed the builds. Let me know what you think. And if you don't mind, tell me what kind of builds have you been using. And that's that. Thank you for watching, my friends. I wish you all the best and take care.